Welcome to Why Such a Fuss, an exciting new channel dedicated to help individuals and businesses to learn more about data protection in a way that is easy and engaging. I'm Christina from CVG Solutions, and I am a fully qualified data protection professional. I am passionate about educating, empowering, and enabling businesses to thrive. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel and help us to spread the word. Data protection is there for a reason. It protects you, your family, loved ones, customers, employees from coming to harm through the use of personal data. So make sure you click subscribe. Now, get ready to embark on a journey of growth and knowledge as we dive into the world of data protection. Hello everyone, I'm delighted to have Laura Palmaiello with me again. Laura is a fellow Italian data protection consultant. Laura, great to have you back. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've never had an Italian fellow come into my podcast twice in a row, so it's brilliant. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Thanks again for having me. So I'm Laura. I am a data protection and information governance consultant. I specialize in UK GDPR and GDPR, and most recently also in the Saudi data protection legislation that came in September last year. I try to bring a calm and practical approach to what can often feel like quite a heavy and overwhelming topic. I've got 20 years of experience in compliance, and also a lot of it is on operational levels. I've been on the other side in implementing data protection and been in a place where I didn't understand anything about the legislation. So I've got a good understanding of the operation, which can be really helpful. I'm known for helping organizations translate legal requirements into something that works for them, into something that they understand. And I'm really passionate about privacy, ethics, and human rights. And most recently, I embarked on the AIGP journey. I'm quite interested in the fast-moving world of AI, and interested in how we can harness the benefits whilst keeping people firmly in the picture. You know, as I said before, I think we know AI is here to stay. If history taught us anything, it's that when technology advancements happen, it's not going anywhere. So we might as well embrace it and go with it, but making sure that we stick to those ethics and rights and keeping that in the picture.
Thank you very much. So now in previous episode, Laura and I talk about the how, the what, and the why of GDPR. If you've missed it, I really recommend that you listen to it. It's really, really interesting, and in my sort of open your eyes to GDPR and give you the additional insight into it. Now, today we wanted to tackle the type of communication that, if it's present in your organization and you might not be aware of it, that could actually ruin your reputation and potentially even close your business down. There's quite a big threat to your business. So what I'm referring to is member of staff using the organization internal chat system, whether it's Teams, Slack, WhatsApp, or any other similar apps, to badmouth your customers, your clients, or even other members of staff or volunteers if you're a charity, sometimes even vendors or anything or anyone else that the organization comes into contact with as part of doing their business activities. So not only this is an unprofessional behavior and should be addressed under the people management, but that aside, and obviously the organization should have a robust code of conduct and sort of clear defines rules that triggers the disciplinary actions. That, as I said, it's the HR side. But if we think of it from a data protection perspective, really it only takes one customer, one employee, one vendor that it's a little bit savvier about their rights and submit a subject access request. And then all of the data, because it's about them, then it becomes up for disclosure. Or they could even potentially report to the ICO. Now, while the name of or names of the employees or the individual that is making the nasty comments will need to be redacted, but the actual content will be in scope for disclosure. So this could lead to serious complaints, could also lead to social media posts that are not really favorable to your business, and therefore lead to a serious reputational damage to your brand, to your legacy, and to the point that depending, you might not even be able to recover. So I'm quite passionate about these, and because I've seen it in quite a few organizations, and the risk associated with it is quite big. Laura, what are your thoughts on this? Have you experienced any such situation? And if so, what did you advise your client to do?
Yes, I mean, I first of all agree with you. It's a really important and very relevant topic because it happens more and more as people understand their rights. More subject access requests are coming in, and yes, unfortunately, I have seen this happen. I've actually seen it happen in scenarios where the name of whoever said it had to be released as well, because depending on which industry you're in, for example, in health and care, you are not as an employer, you're still seen as a professional, depending what your role is. Also in other industries. So
Yeah.
sometimes it can happen that not only what you said will be released, but also your name, because it's in your professional capacity, and that can be absolutely devastating for you as a person, but also for the organization.
Yes.
I like what you said there about it can have an impact people can put on social media. The person who receives the information can do whatever they like with it. They're not a business, they're an individual. So this is actually something that I hadn't considered yet. And I'm like, that is such a relevant point. They have the evidence, they could just do whatever they like with it. So it's something that I will bear in mind as well. Hadn't thought about it in that way. But I had a client, I had a situation where a senior staff member was venting about an employee that got fired. And they
Okay.
vented about in a group chat. I don't remember what the exact wording was, but it was quite bad. And yes, it was unprofessional, but the worst thing was that it was disclosable.
Visible. Mhm.
So when that individual made a subject access request, we had to go through those logs. And don't forget, it can be embarrassing that another person has to go through these logs as well. And it was clear that the comments were about them, like very crystal clear. It was very embarrassing for the individual. But also, I think it ended up in employment tribunal. I don't know where it went from that. We don't get operationally too involved, but it wasn't nice. And you still feel bad for the person because you know what? We can all have a bad day and have a bit of a vent, but just be so careful about what you write down and where you post it. So um, I still get goosebumps when I think about it because sometimes if you don't know about these things, you can have a bad day and you say something and then it comes to bite you. The shock, it's just devastating for you emotionally as well. So it's good that we're trying to educate organizations, say, don't do it. Just remember, if you remember anything in GDPR, remember this bit. Um,
Yeah.
and
But if you
whatever,
remember,
yeah,
with Nigel Farage, that he submitted subject access request because the bank refused to open a bank account, and it transpired that two employees, there was an email between two employees, basically saying that they did not agree with his political views, and that's why his application was refused. The consequences was that the CEO had to resign.
yeah.
So, depending on the size of your organization might not cease to trade, but your senior leaders might have to resign, which would be devastating for their career. So I'm just thinking, the risk is so high for everyone and embarrassing, as you say.
Mm.
Um, and it's not something that you want, as an individual in your leadership role, but also as an organization. You don't want that sticker on you, so to
Uh,
speak, isn't it?
Absolutely. And so I would say, and I think last time we spoke as well, I think when we say what would we advise organizations to do, we're coming back to people and culture.
Yes.
Everything we do comes back down to people and culture. So review your code of conducts, making it clear that internal communications are subject to the same expectations as emails and letters, and educate them. And then tighten up your data governance angle, clear messaging in training platforms. But also saying that anything that constitutes professional communication channel is subject to it. Letting them know employee monitoring policies are important, letting them know what to expect, letting them know that you might have to check these things. So it's also about shifting mindset. In short, if you wouldn't write it in a formal email, don't post it in a chat thread. And if you're a manager or senior leader, you've got to role model that from the top. You've got to role model that. And I can't say it enough. It's really easy to slip into banter or frustration. I come from a hospitality background. It was huge then. And I learned from my mistakes. You know, we all learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
But the consequences are so real. Not just complaints or subject access, as you said, the real reputational damage. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to come back from that once it's out in the public. So keep work stuff in work chats and private stuff in private chats. But even then, have a chat, go outside, have a little vent if you need to, if something's upset you. You know,
Yes.
everybody can have a bad day. We're not saying that, but be professional. Be
Yeah.
professional.
Absolutely. And as you say, the leadership needs to actually role model that. They need to walk the walk. And so they are the first on point to demonstrate their behavior. It's interesting because I've also experienced this situation with a couple of clients, and I have immediately raised it as a high risk, which, with requiring immediate attention, recommended for the leadership to put a stop to it immediately. In some cases, I've created the code of conduct because I didn't have one, or and then provided them when necessary with disciplinary processes, policy, training on the subject. I cannot stress anymore how important this is. And going back to what you said earlier, Laura, that if you take nothing else about GDPR, take this. Because these can be literally your showstopper. So, in leaving it unaddressed, it's a really high risk. I wouldn't recommend it. I would make sure that you got a tight grab on it. Even if it hasn't happened yet, go and check whether your employees or your staff are using the organization chat system for this purpose. Even if it was done unintentionally, but make sure you put a stop to it. And while you haven't got a data request in yet, delete the data. Because once you have the subject access request coming through, you can't delete it. You've got to then disclose it. So I would really tighten up your policies and code of conduct with regards to these, and provide training awareness to your staff. Laura, thank you once again for joining me and sharing your input. It's been an absolute pleasure. Before you go, would you like to let the audience know how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So you can contact me on email on laura@dataprivacyexpert.co.uk. And Christina, thank you so much again. It was so much fun as always.
Thank you very much. And if you would like to get in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Just search for CVG Solutions. Alternatively, you can email me at info@cvgsolutions.co.uk. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.